Good morning, everybody. I was reading over in 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, about verse 18. It says, "In everything, give thanks, for this is the will of God in Christ Jesus concerning you." I got to thinking about that, how difficult it is to give thanks in everything. Because we as human beings, we go through stuff. We go through storms. We go through ups and downs, valleys, mountaintops, back down in the valleys, up and down. We go through all of these kinds of things. And sometimes we, as humans, we look at God and say, "What in the world are you doing? Are you trying to kill me or what? I'm serving you, I'm doing what you've asked me to do, and I'm still facing some of these things." And it keeps going back to this verse, "In everything give thanks, for this is the will of God in Christ Jesus concerning you." I got to thinking about a story that I read. I share it about every Thanksgiving sermon that I've ever done. It's a story that I love. It's found in The Hiding Place, written by Corrie ten Boom. She was a Dutch Christian. Her and her sister Betsy were thrown into Nazi concentration camps for hiding Jews in their home, and they got caught and they were thrown in these barracks and concentration camps. And in those barracks, bunk beds lined up wall to wall, all this kinds of thing, her and her sister encountered two different situations. One was an infestation of fleas. One time it was lice. The whole place was infested with lice. And they were reading their Bible, and they come across this verse, "In everything give thanks." And just as human beings, how can we give thanks for this? We're going through hell on earth, and we're serving God. We're reading our Bible every day and all this kind of thing. Later on, several years later, after they get out, they realize while they were there, they were free to read the Bible, do Bible studies. They hardly ever saw any guards at all that came by. They even heard of guards going into other women barracks and doing some awful things to the ladies and tormenting them and all of that kind of thing. But where Corrie and her sister Betsy were, they hardly ever saw any guards. They come to realize the reason they were free to read the Bible, study the Bible, do church services basically in their barracks, and the reason those guards never came in there to harm them and the other women there was because of the fleas and the lice infestation. The guards stayed away. And so it comes to reason this verse is still true no matter what you're going through. In everything, give thanks, for this is the will of God in Christ Jesus concerning you. I know we go through some tough times, and sometimes you're standing too close to the situation to see God working. Sometimes people from the outside can see God working better than you can because you're too close to the situation. We've often heard the phrase, "You're standing too close to the forest to see the trees." Sometimes it gets very difficult to see God work. But I can promise you this, He is at work in your life. With God, God is the same yesterday, today, forever. He is the Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end, the first and the last. He is that which was, that which is, that which is to come, which means God, this is hard to get your mind wrapped around. God is, He doesn't have a past, present, and future. Where God sits, He's in the past, present, and future all at the same time, if that makes sense. I'll give you this illustration. I heard about a couple of boys that didn't have the money to get into the circus, and the circus was coming through town, and these boys wanted to see it so bad. And they had a wooden fence that they couldn't get through, and they didn't have the money to get in. One little boy found a little knothole, that he could stick one eye in and see a little bit of the circus. And he could only see what was right in front of him. One little boy went on down the fence row and found a tree that was hanging up over the fence. He climbed up way up in that tree, and he could see from the beginning of the circus all the way to the end. And he would holler down at that other little boy and say, "Hey, do you see the monkeys or the elephants," or whatever it was? And the little boy looking through the knothole says, "No, I can only see what was right in front of him at the particular time." But the boy that was looking way up could see everything from start to finish. And that's the way it is in life. We're looking through a knothole. We can only see the present, what's right in front of us at this particular time. But God, in His infinite wisdom and mercy, sitting where He sits, can see the past, the present, and the future all at the same time. And He's working in your life. I'm sure when God told Abraham to take your son, thy only son Isaac, and kill him upon Mount Moriah, I'm sure Abraham was like, "God, what in the world are you doing? You just gave me this boy, and now you're trying to tell me to kill him." What Abraham didn't realize is God knew that there was a ram coming up the other side of that mountain. God always has a plan. He's always got a purpose, and sometimes we don't know it until it gets there. And another thing Abraham didn't realize is God didn't want his son Isaac. God wanted Abraham. And sometimes we go through those situations where we need to realize God just wants us. And He wants us to be in His will. 1 Thessalonians chapter 5 and that verse 18, in everything give thanks. Whatever you're going through, give thanks to God. Because in the end of it all, we'll see God's hand at work. I've heard people say, "Well, when I get to heaven, I'm going to ask God, why this, why that?" I got news for you. When we get to heaven, we won't care why. We're going to be thanking God and praising God for saving our souls. And we'll be glad to be there in the presence of God. So, whatever you're going through today, just know this. Sometimes you're standing a little too close to the situation. Step back. Give thanks to God. And give God room to work.